Hello, welcome to this video discussing Blue Open Studio and MQTT in Blue Open Studio. Our agenda for the video today is the first part of the video. I will go over how MQTT works. I'm going to give I'm going to show, I have some links to some different test clients and discuss a little bit about the different brokers that exist. And then we're going to go into what Blue Open Studio, what the environment looks like when we are using the MQTT driver. So how, what, what are the different settings, etc., that we need to do in Blue Open Studio to make MQTT work. And then the last part of it is we'll show an MQTT subscribe and an MQTT publish from Blue Open Studio. Okay, so what is MQTT? And all this information in the next few slides is basically from readily available public information on the internet. In fact, there is really no shortage of MQTT information basically out there. There's a huge uh, basket of stuff out there, this summary is one of the ones that I liked, but there's many other good summaries that you'll find out there. So I'm going to just speak to this and what this is talking about. So we're talking about lightweight and efficient, right? Because it's an efficient, lightweight and efficient protocol, which means the clients don't have to be super heavy. I don't need a i7 computer. I can do this on very lightweight devices. Right? Bidirectional communications, right? We're publishing, we're subscribing. So data is flowing in both directions. And in fact, your devices can be a publisher and a subscriber, or one or the other, or either. It's completely up to the implementation. Scales to millions of things, obviously, because of those things, we can scale it to millions of different IoT devices, right? So even very lightweight, maybe even sensor-based devices can very easily have the ability now to send MQTT. Reliable message delivery, right? Because we have these quality of service levels that ensures that the messages get delivered, basically ensuring delivery. And then support for unreliable networks, right? Because we're talking about really small packages of data in most cases. This is better this can be sent over unreliable networks, and you know, it's supported for persistent sessions, so you don't have to reconnect. The clients and the brokers don't have to constantly reconnect. They basically handshake with each other based on the way that you set your clients up. And then it's security enabled, right? So all these communications can be happening over a secured and authenticated and encrypted uh, communication network. Okay. Okay, so what does the MQTT publish slash subscribe architecture look like? Right, so what you'll see is at the center of the system, let me get a pointer. At the center of the system, you've got the MQTT broker, right? So the MQTT does not exist with a broker somewhere. So there needs to be a man in the middle, so to speak. Okay. On one side, you'll have clients that perhaps will be publishing data to the broker. So this device is simply doing nothing else but publishing the temperature from this particular sensor. And maybe it publishes it on a time based, maybe it publishes it on data change. That's completely up to you and how you implement it in the client. Okay, so now it's on the broker, and then different clients can now come along and subscribe to that topic, right? So once I can connect to the same broker, depending on how you're making your connection, you can have, you can make that, so you have to have an account, or it could be totally open. It's all depending on how you are architecting the system. So now any client on any kind of device, whether that's a cell phone or another PC or a PLC or whatever it might be, can now subscribe to that temperature topic and get that data when it's published from the sensor. Okay, so if we look at a couple of application examples, so we start with a broker in the center. Okay, then we have a device, let's say a PLC, and that PLC is connected to some other kind of device, right? So we've got a gauge, and then that PLC is also generating alarms. Okay, so now what happens is that PLC is going to publish that gauge data and the alarm data to the broker. Okay, you can see, so the topic is my PLC, I've got pressure, and then my PLC alarm message. And you can see the payloads. Okay, one is a numeric payload, right? But they're both strings, but one is in numeric form and one is in text form. Okay, now Blue Open Studio comes along, and that also is going to connect to the same broker. Okay, and in Blue Open Studio, what I'm going to do now is I'm going to subscribe to the My PLC pressure in the My PLC alarm message topics. All right, and then I also have a topic called Reset Alarm. In a Reset Alarm, I'm going to publish that to the broker from Blue Open Studio, right? And then the PLC is going to subscribe to that Reset Alarm topic. Okay, so when I reset the alarm, that'll get published to the broker because the PLC is subscribed to that topic. It'll see that I want to reset my alarm. Okay, and now what we do is on the right-hand side, now we throw in some other device, and it can connect to the same broker, and it can subscribe to all that stuff and get all the data that it wants. Okay, so subscribe to my PLC pressure, my PLC alarm message, that M262 reset alarm. It can monitor what's going on with the system. Okay, and then it can also publish data if it wants to, or if you want to. And then what you can see for application example number 2 is what we've done in this case is now we have a case where let me get my pointer back. Sorry for that. Now we have a case where the PLC, instead of it using MQTT to talk to the broker. What we're doing is we're using Blue Open Studio has the light SCADA package to connect to the PLC. So the Blue Open Studio is gathering the data from the PLC, and then it's taking care of all the publishing and subscribing that it needs to make the device, make the things available to, say, this third-party device or this mobile device to access that data on the broker. Okay, so let's talk about some terminology. And the terminology on this slide is talking about topics and what topics are in MQTT. And basically, it's a way of identifying information and messages on the broker, right? So a topic only exists if a client has subscribed to it or if the broker has basically retained that message stored for that topic. Okay. The forward slash is the delimiter for the topic, so that way we can divide our topics up into sections, so to speak. Not sure of a better way to put that. The topics are case sensitive, right? So that's very important. And again, topics are just using UTF-8 strings. The topic name can be up to 65K. It has to have at least one character to be valid. And then here's kind of a real important point about MQTT, and that is that except for some basically system variables that exist within the broker, there's really nothing that defines a standard topic structure. It's basically completely up to the implementer in how they want to organize their topics. Okay, wildcards are supported, and then 260 megabytes per message is the supported maximum message size in MQTT. Blue Open Studio is only supporting up to basically 1,024 bytes per message. That's the longest string that Blue Open Studio can handle today. So that would be the largest message that the Blue Open Studio MQTT driver can send today. Okay. Okay, now other terminologies, quality of service. So this was referring, and this has to do with the negotiations that go on between the client and the broker in the publishing and the subscribing, right? So basically, there's three different qualities of service. The quality of service is 0, which is I believe is the default. So in other words, if you don't specify it, it will be a 0. And that's basically that the message is, when it's published, it's just basically sent. and the client and the broker take basically they have to take care of it. So I'm just going to as the publisher, I'm just going to send it, and I don't really care if anybody got it. It's just gone from me, so to speak. I've published it to the broker, and then the broker and the other clients need to take care of getting that data. Okay. The at least once means it's going to send the message until a message was received that it actually got delivered to somebody that was subscribing to it. Okay, that's the quality of service of one. And then the quality of services two is basically it's just another level of ensuring that the only one copy of the message was received. So right, so it's making sure that we don't duplicate data, right? Because if we're refiring messages, perhaps we can duplicate data, and maybe we don't want that. So that's what the exactly once quality of service does. All right. Then we also have this retain message, which is basically that's you in Blue Open Studio. If you want to retain a message, you append an R onto the station name. We'll see what that looks like later. Okay. And basically, what that's talking about is if there's nothing, if normally if an MQTT client publishes a message to a topic and nobody subscribed to it, that then the broker will just get rid of it. So in other words, the broker will see something coming in on a topic that's published, and it'll see, oh, well, nobody's subscribed to that, so it doesn't really matter, and it will throw it away. Okay, to tell the broker to keep the message, even if there's no subscribers yet, then you turn on the retain flag. The broker will see that to retain that value, it will say, okay, nobody subscribed, but I'm still going to hold that value. So when somebody does come along and subscribed, the value will be there and it will send that message to the client. Okay, so getting into the different MQTT services and brokers, etc. And there is, like I said, it's the same the same cases with the documentation. There is there is no shortage of services and providers, etc., that exist basically globally. I just mentioned a few of them here. Here we're talking about different MQTT client applications. So, effectively, Blue Open Studio is an MQTT uh, client, but it's also helpful to have other third-party clients so that you can basically have a separate interaction with a broker outside of Blue Open Studio. So you can kind of see, makes it easier for troubleshooting and testing and observing on how all this stuff works. And I listed a few of them here. The first one, that MQTT.x, as far as I know, is a free download. And then there's some other ones. The SoftBlade, the MQTT.fx is a quite nice tool, but it is a paid version. Okay. Okay, so when we look at strictly when we look at different MQTT brokers, there are some public brokers. I don't know. I am not an expertise on if these are open to be used or if they're just for test purposes or what, how it flushes out data, etc. I'm not really sure, but they do work really well for testing and especially just illustrating and observing how MQTT is working with your different solutions. In this case, Blue Open Studio. There are pro, um, like cloud-based and on-premise brokers available. For example, this is I believe Cedelo is the commercial arm of Mosquito, for example, and then they have um, a broker. It's a Linux-based broker that can run on a Docker and Windows, for example. And then there's an EMQX broker, free public broker. There's a Mosquito open broker, like I said, like I point out up there. Um, oh, sorry, the Mosquito open broker is the broker that runs. Sorry, that's the one that runs on Windows, and it basically has a command line interface. And then there's there's appliances that exist in the world, such as routers. And for example, because we have TBDAs that include Teltonica routers, some Teltonica routers do have MQTT brokers built into them. And then this last piece is an enterprise solution. Again, it's an EMQX. it's a, you're guaranteed uptime. You have so much user, you can have so many, connections, etc. It's a paid service, but it's a more of a guaranteed service type of system. Okay, here's some information about the broker available from Mosquito. Okay, not too much. You can see the different ports that it's listening to at that URL. Okay, so in a nutshell, how is MQTT in Blue Open Studio working together? So, assuming you know a little bit about Blue Open Studio and how it's functioning, MQTT is a communication driver. So, being that it's a communication driver, it has driver sheets. So within these driver sheets, right, you have what we call, let's say, standard driver sheets and a main driver sheet. So there's a little bit of different behavior between the two sheets, but at the end of the day, um, as an MQTT client, when the BOS MQTT driver is doing a write function, that is an MQTT publish. And then on the other side of this of the system, the an MQTT subscribe is going to be a read function in the sense of the driver sheets, right? So MQTT in a driver sheet, when we do a write function, we're basically publishing to a set topic. And then when we do a read function, we're basically subscribing to that topic. And then when the data then when the publisher publishes to that topic, the subscriber picks it up. Okay. All right, so what does this look like for example, in a standard driver sheet, right? So in your standard driver sheet, you're going to have, the normal field of a tag name, right? You're going to have a station field. In this case, I'm just using the test mosquito dot URL. And then in the IO address, you're going to have, this is essentially the topic. And within the topics, we know that we can put the / to delimit the topics. And then in the action field, this is in the main driver sheet. In the action field, right, the read is a subscribe, the write is a publish, and then you can combine read and write. So what would effectively happen with this tag name is this: when I do a read function, I'm going to subscribe to the topic, and then when I do a write function, I'm actually going to be publishing to that same topic. Okay. So the note below, and I will illustrate this in a second in the software, is that what happens is that in the driver sheet, basically the way the main driver sheet cycles is every 600 milliseconds, it's basically going to flush the data from the internal memory into the tag data. So basically what happens is when the MQTT driver starts, it's going to send subscription requests to the broker for their configured topics, right? So the broker will actually update the MQTT driver when the subscribed topics change value, but that value is only queued in Blue Open Studio's memory. So when the next driver read cycle comes along, that will actually take the value, and if it's changed, it will take the value from the memory in queue and write it to the tag. Okay, so let's take a look at what this looks like in Blue Open Studio in a main driver sheet. So what we're gonna do an example here of is uh, a read, so a subscribe to a topic. So what I'm gonna do, so you can see here, I've got a tag, just real simple. It's a string. I'm just connecting to the open broker. And then you can see here what I'm going to do. I'm actually going to adjust this. I'm going to adjust this to a different topic just so I can make sure that I don't pick up another a retained piece of data from a topic that I previously have published to. Remember, I'm publishing to an open broker, so if there's data to that topic, as soon as you have subscribed to it, you're going to get that data. But obviously, if there is no data there, then you're not going to get anything. And we're going to look at what that behavior looks like. Okay. So now what I'm going to do, let me just go ahead, and that's all I really want to do for now, is I just have that one tag. If you, okay, save the driver sheet. If you look at what it looks like on the screen, just looks like this. Okay. I'm going to go ahead and run. I have my watch window ready. Yeah. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and run the project. Yeah, and you could see it actually you saw there for a split second you saw some old data that was left over from a previous publish. Obviously, I've been playing around with this, so there's been data kind of flying around all over the place. So let's take a look at what that looks like in the watch window. So let's go ahead and pause it. Okay, so we're going to go up here, and you can see it initiating the driver. There's its subscription. So there's it basically, I'm not sure why these two are reversed, but it's basically subscribing and making a connection to the broker. Here it is. It's making a successful subscribe. So, but now what you'll see is here's that topic, that BOS temperature 3. But what you're going to see is every driver cycle time now, because this is in a main driver sheet, you're going to get this message that the addresses in the group are all invalid. And the reason that is because there hasn't been any data published to that topic at this point. Okay. So what I'm going to do to publish data, so let me get this, let me let the watch window run again. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to open up my MQTT external client, and you can see I've already created, let me disconnect and show you that I've already created a new connection. Let me see. Here's where I can edit the connection. I called it boss test video MQTT. Here's the URL, testmosquito.org. Here's the port. I gave it a client ID so I could identify it. Let's go ahead and connect. Okay, so now what I'm going to go ahead and do is I want to publish to that topic. Right, so if we go back to our Blue Open Studio, we can see if we go in here, we go into the main driver sheet, you would see it's temperature 3. So I'm going to go back here. I'm going to say this is BOS temperature 3. And then I'm going to say, hello, this is from MQTTX, and it should be sent. Okay. So now that's been published. Now if I go back to my Blue Open Studio, and if I look at the watch window, let's pause it and let's see where that came in. Okay, and here it is. Message received, message arrived, topics updated. So then it updated the topic, put the message in the display, and then now I'm back basically into the same type of cycle. I'm okay, but it's saying that the broker has not sent any updated message since the last time I've read the memory. Okay, so it's basically it's saying it's having there's no new data, so I'm just basically doing nothing. Okay, so let's take a look at what it looks like to publish to a topic. So in this case, we're going to be in the case of the main driver sheet, that's a write action. So let me just go ahead and I'm going to change this topic number again here. Okay, to 7. Everything else is the same. I use a different tag name here. So I'm going to go ahead and close the driver sheet. Okay, I'm going to confirm my screen is okay. Yeah, let me change this text because I made it to a 7. Change, and then make sure the tag is okay. Okay, so the screen should be okay. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and run my project. So again, so now I'm basically publishing. There's some leftover data from before that won't get published. So then what you can see in the watch window is basically all it did is it basically added the virtual group, I guess, that it's going to publish from. That's just, it seems like that to me, that's just allocating memory. Okay. Okay, so let's go to our client and let's go ahead. Yep, we're still connected here. So let's go ahead and, yeah, that shows green. So let's go ahead and make a subscription to that topic. Temperature 7. Okay, so let's confirm the subscription. There's my subscriptions. Nothing's come in yet. Let's go ahead and publish something. And let's see. And there we go. And you can see I've published, it's subscribed, and there's the data from Blue Open Studio 4. So now let me move that over here and let's take a look at what that looked like in our watch window. So if we go up here, right, so we remember we just added the group. It looks like that's where it's starting. It's doing a public, it's calling a publish, it's connecting with the broker. There's the publish success. And then what this actually is this is data from the protocol analyzer. This is internal. What it's doing is it's going through all the internal. This is a little bit inside the inner workings of the software that I don't necessarily understand, but I think that's going through different write groups and basically checking if there's anything in them. Okay, and then you could see here at the end, there's the send success, and it's done with the finish, and there's the end. It says write group test mosquito OK. Okay. Okay, so now back to our PowerPoint. This is just a review of what it looked like in the driver sheet to have the publish, right? So here was the string, the station number, the topic, and then the publish, meaning the write action. Okay. So hopefully this will be the first in a series of 2 or 3 different videos that I will do on the subject of MQTT. So in my next video, we'll take a little bit deeper dive into some other aspects of the driver and its functions within MQTT. So look for that in the future. But for now, thanks for watching, and hope it was useful.